Hi guys, welcome to this Microsoft Excel session. In this module, I want to look at some date functions and some text functions, and a quick look at the large and the small function. But first of all, this first sheet has the dates on the bottom there, and it's just some examples of some of the date functions that come with Microsoft Excel. So across the top here, I have some dates. This one is a function, today equals today. That's the computer clock, so that will be tomorrow. And there's just a little formula on there to move that on 30 days. And then I've got these two dates sitting there to represent some holidays. So the first one is the straightforward, the year function. The year function just basically looks at the cell and tells you what year that cell is. So it's looking at this cell, D2, and it's coming back and saying 2020. The month function, next one down, is doing exactly the same. It's looking at D2 and just pulling the 7 out of there. It's the 7th month. And then to complete that, the day function is pulling off the day, the 14th of that. So those three functions can be used together or separate like that to pull off information. Now the next one down says days. This gives you the number of days between two dates. So basically between E2, so you put in the last date first. If I click into there, the end date first and then the start date. So how many days between those two dates? So if I change this to a date, so if I put the 1st of the 12th, 20, it then changes that to 140 days. And if I just undo that, so it comes back as it was, because that's going to mess up the other ones. Then you've got this end of month function. So this one is looking at E2, which is the start day, and then you've got a 1, a positive number at the end of it. So the positive number tells you the last day of the month, 1 month after the selected date. So the selected date is E2, that one, and that was August. So 1 month after that, the last day, 1 month after that, is the 30th of September. And then if you want to go back a month, you just put a -1 in there, and then that's the month before, 31st of July, looking at E2. Next one, you've got net working days. Net working days is the number of working days between two dates. So between cells D2 and E2, there are 23 net working days, number of days. Now, that's less the weekends. Now, this one is looking at the same two dates, but it's also got holidays at the end. Now, in cell G2 and F2 and G2, I've put some holidays there, look. So this is the number of days between these two dates, less those holidays. So there's just 21. So that's how that one works. Week number is the week number of the year, looking at D2 again. So this is the 29th week of the year. The weekday function returns the number of the day of the week. So the first day of the week is a Sunday with a 1. Monday would be 2. Tuesday, which is today, is a 3. And then you can use formulas to change that into Tuesday. Datedif is a legacy function from Lotus 123, but gives you the number of days difference between two dates, 30. So it's very similar to that one. But the difference with this datedif function, can also qualify it with months. So months between two dates, saying there's 2 months between that date there. D2 and H2, this one. That threw me for a minute because I was looking at these two. So if you look at this function, between D2, which is the 14th of July, and H2, which is September, there's 2 months. So you would maybe concatenate a datedif in months and days if you wanted to know exactly what that is. So that's just a quick look at some of the date functions in Excel. And like I said at the very beginning, this one I use quite a lot. It is today and it will always be today. Tomorrow it will be tomorrow. key command for today's date is control and semicolon, which gives you the same date, but this one will not change over. This is like a date stamp. And if I do control shift and semicolon, that gives you the time. So that's the date, control semicolon. If you hold the shift key down and control together and then do semicolon, it gives you the time. So that is a clock of your computer or network. So that's where that's coming from. And they are like date and time stamps. And you can have that in the same cell if you want. So if I just go like that and then control, so I just did a little space there. And then you can put everything in the same cell. Again, that's a date time stamp. Now text functions on the next one, these ones at the bottom, but I'm quickly going to talk about the small and the large functions first. So there's the small function and there would be the large function in the top there. So what the large and the small function allow you to do is to qualify whether you want the smallest or the second smallest or the third smallest in a list. So I've got this set to 1, so that'll be the smallest. So I've got some quotes from different companies on prices for ink and paper, and I basically want to know which is the smallest for each item, smallest quote. So that one is 1, and then the smallest in this list is 12. So if I just change that to a 2, you'll delete that to a 2, that'll be the second smallest, which there are 2 of them, 21. Just undo that, and then this one, the smallest is 2, and so on and so on. Now I also have conditional formatting highlighting whether it's the smallest. I'll just show you how I did that. If we go into conditional formatting, manage rules, edit the rule. So I basically said if the cell value is equal to B8, so if this is equal to B8, which is the yellow cell, go green. That's how I've done that. Click OK to that, OK again. So you can have different quotes from different companies. So the total cheapest quote is the top company, AMAC, £38. Now the large function works exactly the same, except this time you're going for the largest number in the list. So this one is 32, and again you can change that qualifying number to whatever you want. But I'm just going to leave that on there. So that's the small function and the large function. Now the rest of these are mainly text functions. So the first one is using the mid function. It's not a text function as per se, but there you go. I want to know, looking at cell A18, this is my name, I want, starting at the second character, which is T, I want it to display 6 characters. So you can basically move this along. If you've got a CSV file which is dropping data into your spreadsheet and you need to extract certain parts of that data, you may well want to use this mid function to do that. Likewise with the left and the right functions. So the left function is looking at A18 and displaying 4 characters from the left margin, so STEV. The right function is looking at A18 and displaying 4 characters also, but from the right hand side, so XTON. So they both work in a similar sort of way. Now this next one is the clean and substitute. So you're basically cleaning, clean would clear any unwanted spaces or non-printable spaces. The substitute will substitute character codes with another character code. So character code 32, for example, in the ASCII code is a blank space. So basically you want to substitute the blank space there with character 7. Character code 7 is the delete character. If I just go a bit further to the right, is the character space for delete. That's why it's got rid of the 0 there. I didn't need to put clean on the front of that for it to work. It would have still worked if I just did substitute. So you're substituting the space, character code 32, space, with character code 7, which is delete. And then you get rid of that. Now the other one, next one down, if you've got things set as numbers in a non-Microsoft system, maybe they drop into Excel without the leading 0 on, you can use the replace function to bring them back on. So this is what this one's doing. It's looking at A22, it's looking at the first position, the start position. The number of characters in is 0 because it isn't a character at the moment. If I put that to 1, it would get rid of the 1 and replace the 1 with the 0, which I don't want it to do. So I need that to be a 0, and then I want it to replace this new text. So it'll put a 0 in front of that. If I tick that one, like so, 0191. Next one down is the trim function, which gets rid of any blank spaces except the ones between words. So in there you can see this one. I've had this happen quite a bit on stuff that gets sent into Excel from non-Microsoft programs, databases, where there may be spaces, and when there's a space, a VLOOKUP, for example, or HLOOKUP will not work. Because if it was looking for testing today, it wouldn't find this because there's a space in front of it. So what you need to do is just trim it off and then get the VLOOKUP to look at this column. It might be a case of inserting a column for that to work, but that's what the trim function does. Next one is using date with concatenation. So there I've got the top there, equals today's date is, and the and sign is a concatenation sign, C24. So C24 is this date, today's date, but you can see there it hasn't formatted it to a date, it's just given the date number, which is no use. The one below is using what's called the text function, which is quite a cool little function. If I click on that one, so you're still using the concatenation feature. So equals today is in quotes, that's a text bit, and then the and sign, which is a concatenation glue part, if it is what I call it, a glue part, and then the text function. So text function will just display that number as a date, or in this format there with DDMMYY. You don't need anything at the end of that because that's the last thing in the sentence. So that's that one. And then the last thing is the indirect function. It's not really to do with text, but it's going to show you. I'll just show you how this works. So A27, indirect A27. A27 is A5. So basically what is in cell A5? Cell A5 is IT Suppliers UK. So that's where it brings back. It looks at whatever's in there in terms of a cell reference and then brings it back. So that's the end of this session. I hope you enjoyed that. Some nice little functions there. Fast and furious, but you can pause this and have a look at it in your own time. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you on the next one.